Discussions going on now in terms of what a severance tax should be. Representative Hagan and I and others have been looking at severance taxes across the country. We think that our severance tax in Ohio is abysmally small and abysmally low. Right now it's based on a measurement of 3 cents per 1,000 cubic feet of oil or gas that's extracted from the earth. That's amazingly low if you compare that to the value taxes that are based in other states. So Texas has a rate of 7.5% of value when gas is sold at market. Oklahoma 7%. North Dakota 11.5% on shale oil. Our proposal that we're going to introduce in legislation in the next week or two will be that Ohio change the basis of how it collects taxes, severance tax on gas and oil, from this 1,000 cubic feet percentage, that's 3 cents per metric cubic feet, to a value process, so that it would be 7% of the value of gas or oil sold at market. And that out of that 7%, we recognize that this is a limited commodity. This commodity, if we're lucky, will last 30, 40 years in the state of Ohio. Each well has a capacity where about roughly half of the gas out of each well that's brought up is spent or extracted within the first 4 or 5 years. So we think that there should be a local impact fund that would have at least 1.5% of the 7% that we're collecting that would go to the Marcellus Utica Shale areas for kind of local authorities to use that money in ways that they think makes the most sense, whether it's for roads and bridges and maintenance of land, whether it's for realizing at the end of the day that this resource is not always going to be there. We're going to need some money for further education, for business development, economic development, but there'd be a local impact permanent fund, is what we're calling it, that would be there for those communities that are impacted by the drilling coming out of the Marcellus Utica Shale area. Additionally, we think that, I believe, and I know Representative Hagan does and others, that while shale gas is a cleaner source of fuel than carbon, than straight gas that we're getting from other sources, that this is not necessarily clean gas, right? It's 50% cleaner than regular sources of fuel, but that we need to develop, and Ohio should be developing, a greater capacity for advanced energy. And so part of what we're suggesting in our proposal is that 5.5% of the new taxes, that severance tax, be dedicated for an advanced energy fund. We had an advanced energy fund in this state up until December 2010. That money was utilized for solar, wind power, energy efficiency programs. We think that the state should go whole hog and really develop programs and allow consumers to have the opportunity to really take advantage of what we think is the cleanest resources that we currently can provide. So 0.5% of that, 0.5% of this money would go to advanced energy sources. And then the rest would go to the general fund. We think that there's going to be, this would be 5% of this, 7% would go to the general fund, hopefully to replenish dollars that we've taken away from local governments, from schools, from universities, from parks, from prisons. But that we need, a chunk of this money is going to have to go back into doing what we think government should be doing, which is creating a solid, stable environment for all of us to survive in. We think that if you tax at a 7% rate, that once the fracking is up and running and is kind of full bore, full steam, at least the numbers we've gotten from Progress Ohio, Innovation Ohio, oil and gas education program, is that you could raise about $500 million a year with a 7% tax. We think that's, this is Ohio's natural resource. This is stuff that's coming up out of the ground from Ohio, and that the state of Ohio should benefit from this extraction and use the resources for good things. So we'll take questions. Okay.